Good morning, family. We coming to y'all live today. Raps, me and Cuz. We posing a question today. Are you too broke today, men or women? Do you feel like at this point in life you should focus more on your career and finances than you should do love, your love life, and focus on love later on in life? Let us know what you think. We're gonna talk about it. Drop us some comments afterwards, and we're gonna tell y'all what we think. Here we go.
Unc Cal and Dave Jones are the hosts of the show. We living in some difficult times, as most of us know. Let's lift each other up and put down the stress. If you didn't know, the name of the show is called Rap.
Sir.
Sir, how you doing, Cuz?
Man, I am great, man. How about you, man?
Man, just trying to stay sane, baby. Mental health is real.
It's
Man,
good
if
to
you so
see
much
you.
going, if you so much going on, man, you just be like, man, God, thank you for a sane mind.
Man, bro, definitely,
Man,
man. Shout out to everybody who going through something, right?
man, we pray, hey, we praying for y'all. Pray for us, man.
Yeah, man. It's all of us everywhere. I think we build up so many, needs or desires and so many worries and problems and anxiety. I think we overthink, we overstress too much. And I think it's a season to come back to some form of simplicity and
Right,
gratefulness to calm that brain down, bro, and
man.
just breathe in, right? Because it's so much.
You said a whole lot when you said a place of simplicity because a lot of things we go through that we actually see it as that's a problem in our life be
Hmm,
like self-inflicted stuff. You know what I'm
hmm,
saying? So we have to
hmm.
go back to the drawing board and just start looking at the things that we can actually change and bring back to a simple place and just get back to the basics. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes life will have us focus and you know what I'm saying on so much of the stuff that ain't important and it had you accumulate a bunch of bills and different things you don't need, just trying to keep up with the Joneses, and then you get to the point where you were like, you know what, this ain't it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No,
This
that's
ain't,
real talk.
you know what
That's
I'm
real
saying?
talk, man. I
Yeah,
think, and it's we I guess on and on top here, but I feel this. I think this is good. I think, you know, because there's always something more that we could chase or get or grab. You know what I'm saying? And you never satisfy that quench when you get into that rhythm. It's like you never. It's if you're not careful, you won't enjoy the now, what you
right,
have in your hand.
right.
You would live in the future of what I need to get.
Hmm.
And the only reality is the present. Like the only thing that is real is your awareness of now. The
Hmm.
future doesn't exist. But
Right,
sometimes we live in the future of what we wish we can get, and we just live our life wishing for something and we wish our life away, man. It's
right, right. And sometimes, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, just speaking my own reality, you actually come from a place where you ain't have a lot and you
Mhm,
just you don't even see things in your future that you feel like you could accumulate.
mhm.
And then when you start seeing the God with you and it's things that you actually can get, you just overdo it, you know what I'm saying, with the intent of like, let me see how far I can go with things.
Hmm.
And then you get to a point where you're like, man, this ain't even necessary. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us, you know what I'm saying, we come from a place of not even believing in ourselves.
Right. Getting one of them sales calls again. Not even believing in ourselves is where he's gonna pick it up. Oh, you back?
Right,
Yeah, go
right,
ahead.
right, right. So yeah, man. So I think, we all at a place right now where we just, you know what I'm saying, at a self-evaluation type of point where everybody just like, you know what, let me figure me out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good. So that kind of puts us back on the topic. Are you too broke to date? I think it's a generic question for everybody, all of us, right?
Right.
And it's not a condescending question, but it is one that could trigger a response for you to tune in and give your ear to it. Now, when you say that, bro, like, give me your thoughts on and where we should be thinking in this concept.
Well, man, I remember I was looking at a Kevin Samuels clip, man, and he was he was talking to a guy. A guy was called in and was questioning him about, you know what I'm saying, what his expectations is and asking Kevin about some things concerning, him dating women and this, that, and the third. And Kevin asked him some questions about his lifestyle, where he worked, what he had going on, his health and different things. And he was like, man, you too broke to date.
Hmm.
So it just, you know what I'm saying, it brought back, you know what I'm saying, me wanting to pose that to you because I think a lot of times, man, a lot of people go through life and they so empty and feeling like they battling things by themselves and they just feel like they need a partner just to help them balance life out. And I think sometimes like getting a person in your life, especially the right person at the wrong time in your life can be a big problem if you don't have your finances in order. You know what I'm saying? So I think, you know, I tell my son this all the time. I say, hey, man, you can have fun right now and you can work hard the rest of your life. Or I said, you can work hard right now and you can have fun for the rest of your life. So I make sure he understand that, listen, bro, you know, don't make mistakes and don't take everything I'm trying to tell you as it's like a fatherly son type of situation. I'm trying to tell you some things I experienced that's going to make life better for you. You know what I'm saying? The same things I do with a lot of the nieces and nephews when I kick it with them. Like, you know, I give you game that, you know, I wish somebody could have gave me. And, you know, I had a lot of older cats giving me game, but some of the stuff I had to experience and find out on my own. So if I could share it and give it to you, you know, I would tell people, like, you know, get you together, because I think a lot of times guys come up with situations where, you know, they either want a woman and they may want a woman, and a lot of times women don't have a problem with being submissive to the right situation if they know their man loyal, they know he's a provider, they know he can take care of things, and so on and so forth. But then you pose the question with a man, if that's what you want. You know what I'm saying? Some men don't have a problem with a woman being independent and helping out, or not even needing her help, but just being able to be independent if she won't, and tell her, hey, baby, keep your money, do your thing. But I think that's an option that both parties should have, both men and women, to know that, like, you know, their careers in their own hands, their finances in their own hands, because it's so many people, I think, they go through this world and, you know, they in positions where one person in a relationship or the other is the breadwinner, and they being controlled, or they in situations where they ain't happy because, you know, they really don't have their shit together where they can make a choice one way or another. So they just in a situation where they just living, you know what I'm saying, for the sake of convenience.
Right. You know, you said a lot in there. So it sounds like, and there was a lot of wisdom in that. And I love the fact you say you was kicking with your son, and it's good to be trained by somebody or get this type of insight. So it's almost like a concept of being careful of codependency.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you're going into
Right.
a relationship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like to you know, and the topic was, you know, are you too broke to date? I think a way to even embellish that and not just make it focused on money, but the deeper thing is self-discovery. So are you too broken to date? Right. And so basically, you know, a lot of times there were seasons in my life, you know what I'm saying, before I even know, like, because I got married late, like in my 30s. And the reason, and all my family, they got married, like my father, who's been married 50 years, my two older brothers, they all got married between 19 and 22. And so me looking at that, I was like, okay, I'm in this position, I'm not necessarily ready. One, there's a lot of questions I got about who's out there, right? I didn't want to sit down too quick. And then there's a lot of self-discovery that I wanted to make about what I wanted to do, what I wanted to build, what I wanted to become. You know what I'm saying? Before I take all those curiosities into what the world is kind of leaning me, either from what I've seen in my family, what I see being pushed into the marriage. And I felt that it would be too premature because I have too many questions, that it'd be easy for the enemy to kind of have me to be, hey, you need to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be sexually, whether it be, you know what I'm saying, financially, whether it be what I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and all those type of things. And so I think a lot of us haven't gotten to the point that there's a total self-discovery of your own uniqueness, and going back to the word brokenness, where we're not broken anymore from past trauma or hurts, that we can discover who we are and begin to heal ourselves before we take that to somebody and want them to heal what we haven't healed ourselves.
That's so good, man. That's so good. Too broke in today. Yeah, man. So yeah, that's so good, because, like, you know, going through situations, you find people, like, you know, they get to a place in their life where they say, oh, I want to go back to school, or I want to graduate, or I figure out what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? But if they in, like a lot of women, if they're in a position where they done had kids and a man is a breadwinner, then they're in a position where it's like, okay, how am I gonna do this now? I got these kids, I gotta watch, I gotta deal with, I gotta take care of home, I want to go to school. I want to be independent. He the one working, bringing the money in. So it puts that even balance in the household, because it's like they realize what they want late in life, but at the same time, it's like they're not in a position to attack it, because it's like they got all these other responsibilities that come with their lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, okay, now how am I balance this out? You know, I want to go to school to be a cook. I want to interior decorate, or I want to do this, that, and the third, but I got these 2 kids and this, that, and the other. So they sitting there, you know, they having a reality check, and then they sitting at home feeling like they being controlled, or they being, you know, it's just a weird place to be in. And I see that a lot with these kids too, you know, going to school early for things that they don't really want to go to college for. And then by the time they figure out what they want to go to college for, they're in a relationship 4 or 5 years, and then they lost. You know what I'm saying? They like, oh, I want to go to school for this. Well, you got a bunch of debt accumulated, and you got to figure out how you gonna turn this around. You done went to school for something that you ain't really sure about. Then, you know, it's like, boom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think. I mean, you got one of the answers to one of the questions. I think, you know, I think the thing is about self-discovery and becoming whole, right, within yourself, unbroken, before you take that brokenness into a relationship. And I want to share something, because I actually, you know, even though I had took my time and there's a lot of questions that I didn't have, I went into my marriage. It was my first marriage, and then there were still some unanswered questions, you know, that I didn't have, and I ended up divorcing on that. And that was a little different from this topic, but I think it's important to talk about the importance of self-discovery and how we can and how we can discover ourselves in combat to how the world bakes us into these things of confusion. You mentioned the first one. Even the way the educational system is set up, you're actually indoctrinated to be confused about who you are and what you want to be, build, or become. Because it's like the way it's set up, it's like they throw all these different topics or genres of skills at you that they say that you should learn, which don't necessarily speak to your skill set, your purpose, or even your mindset, but it's the system of how to almost confuse people. Like, for example, when I went to college, you know, the first 2 years, they're giving you university requirements will have nothing to do with what I even told them what I wanted to major in, right? And so, so they can get their money, they want to confuse you with all the stuff and give you extra things that are not necessarily. See if they can challenge your thinking, but it doesn't speak to your ability to be mastering a certain skill, which is ultimately building a self-confidence in yourself to know that you can execute by the time you get out. So you walk away with a load of debt with really not understanding the skill that you're mastering. That's one. If you go ahead and look at, and maybe you can jump in on the next one, if you go ahead and look at the way the news, right? The media, how the world tells you that you need to go ahead and date, right? Early, you know, start young. You need to marry. You hear that from family members. Like, you need to marry early. You need to marry young, and you never discover who you are. And you got the peer pressure of society telling you that you need to go ahead and settle down when they didn't decide. Well, did you go ahead and discover who you were first?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So can you think of things that kind of throw us off?
I think people, you know what I'm saying, and it's a natural reaction. I think people look at what they want or perceive what they want when it comes to love, and they don't take in consideration the longevity of it. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, a person see a person that fit their criteria or what they want physically as a woman or a man, and they be like, wow, man, that's cold right there. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or a young lady may say, oh my God, he carries himself classy, so on and so forth. You know, it fits her criteria. But I think once you get past what it is you think that person is, or what you think, you know what I'm saying, they're going to fit in towards what you want, that person either meets your expectations or they fail them. And moving on in a relationship, as you get to know that person, if it's going to be a short-term or a long-term thing, I think you I think that's when all the realistic stuff start coming in play. You know what I'm saying? If you realize that this person is what you thought they was in the beginning, or they aren't what you thought they was in the beginning, I think then you start thinking about all that other unrealistic stuff that you wasn't thinking about in the beginning, such as, okay, we want to build this together, or we got to pay for this, or we got to go, you know what I'm saying? Because a person look at what they want, they don't think about all the stuff that come along with it responsibility wise. You
Yeah.
know, who gonna pay this? Who gonna take care of this? They just think about love. You know, people got these weird fantasies, you know what I'm saying, and fairy tales about love and relationship and what they want. All they see is that being. They
Yeah.
don't see the responsibility that comes with the being. So
Right.
once you get to know that person, you know what I'm saying, you can either start letting the reality or understanding sit in, and you start asking the right questions, and y'all start getting a clear understanding on what it is and what y'all trying to do, and being transparent about what you want. And I think a lot of people, when they find something good, they not real enough because they're scared of losing it. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's because I think a lot of women, like, they come into situations and they know if they meet a guy that's a go-getter, they want to sit at home, or they don't want to figure out what they're doing right now, because they like, hey, you got it. And I think a lot of women should
Mm.
just say that, like, hey, can you hold this down for a minute while I figure me out? You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of guys, you know what I'm saying, create a false narrative because they come
Mm.
in and they say,
Mm.
oh, it ain't nothing. I got it like this. I got it like this. And they really ain't got it like that, but they posing it like they do because they want to, you know what I'm saying, they want to let this person know that they can handle it all, and they're really not in a position to. And they do it as a front to get the person. And then they start to show that they can't handle it. And then they start to look fake. You know, so I
Mm.
think just people, you know what I'm saying, just need to come in, you know what I'm saying, with more of an understanding as to what it is they want and where they at in life. You know what I'm saying? Because I think at the end of the day, whatever's real gonna show itself. Whatever's real gonna show itself. And it's just like, if people be more real about who they are and what they want and what expectations they get, a lot of men are too embarrassed to come in and say, I'm looking for a partner to build with. They want to come in and like, oh, this, look at this. It's
Mm.
bad. This, that, and the other. I got this. But you really don't. You still really trying to build you. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But instead of you being real like that, you know what I'm saying? Because the world is the world's got everybody thinking that you got to come in like a baller and you got to prove to everybody you can hold it down. Then you come in like that, then now you messing up relationships, or you running your funds behind, or you going in debt trying to keep up with something you really ain't that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Relative to, again, are you too broke to date, or are you too broken? I think when you go into a relationship, you got to ask yourself, are you prepared to love?
Right.
And a lot of people confuse. We all got different images when we hear that word love. A lot of people think affection, right? They think intimacy. But love is, again, is almost an act. It's not even, it is an act. It's where you're in a position that you can sacrifice things that are valuable to you that you possess, so that the person that you're getting with can advance, increase, or get better. And so a lot of times, in order to do that, in addition to you being able to sacrifice character things like patience, kindness, gentleness, working with somebody, working through, in addition to finances, resources, one, you need to have some sense of financial peace, right? Not, you don't have to be paid or whatever, but you have to kind of get a hold of the things that you can bring to the table. And then two, you kind of got to have a hold, again, of your individuality, who you are, and have a confidence in yourself that you can now not go in dependent, but you can bring love. You can bring this sacrifice to the relationship so you guys can together make something better. But I think that the detriment is people are not bringing love. They're bringing lust. Lust is, what can I get from that person?
Mm-hmm.
What can I take? What can they fix about me? Right? You know what? And so when you go in with that attitude, you're going in with a selfish motivation, and that cause the dependence. You find themselves in that person. And when they don't, especially if they're going through in life, if they got a weakness, and we all have our problems, if they're going through a struggle and they can't, you know what I'm saying, fix something that you're going through, now you're blaming them for what's broken, what's inside of you. You follow what I'm saying? By not being properly prepared or properly whole before you ask somebody to, hey, can I come make your life better? And we reciprocate this concept. We're in
Right.
a position to build each other up, to create this new entity. And so the ideology of marriage or relationships or dating, I think we go in with the wrong motives. Our motives are not right. And so we shouldn't be motivated off what we can gain or what they
Right.
can give us. You know what I'm saying? But motivated by what we can build together and how we can complete each other relative to our assignments.
That's good, man. I think on the flip side of it is, you know, some people go in like, you know what I'm saying, if you go in a situation, you don't know if it's going to be long term, or you just go into it. You know, if a person if like a guy got his stuff together, you know, you don't want to answer too many of the wrong questions, because you don't want a person to know all your business and you just getting with them. But you don't want to not answer some questions or ask some questions, because it's just like, you got to understand who you with, just like they got to understand, you know what I'm saying, who they with, or you got to understand who you trying to get with. Mm-hmm. So I think that a lot of people don't go in and ask the right questions up front. You know, it's what's your credit like? What's your plans? You know what I'm saying? What's your career? Are you in college? Have you been to college? Do you have a career? Do you work a job? You know, and I think, you know, if you do work a job, do you have plans in the future for business? If you don't, you know, and then see, once you get those type of questions understood, then you can honestly ask yourself, is this a person that you can see in your future? Can you accept what they want? Because if you're a person that got your stuff together and you get with somebody that's, you know what I'm saying, living a substandard life, or just content with the life they live in, and they comfortable with their job, even if they ain't been to college, they got a good job, or they got a mediocre job, you got to ask yourself, are you willing to take this person on? Right. But a lot of people go in and they have their lifestyle under control, which means they living within their means and they handling their business to their budget. But then they meet somebody that may have it going on more than them, and then they expect them to bring them up to their standard, which I don't think that's a problem. But then you got to just make sure the person that's doing that are willing to do that. Correct. You can't just assume that, hey, they got it going on, you know what I'm saying, and they can afford to bring me up to a certain level. But it's just like, okay, but you was okay over here handling your stuff over there. So you gotta ask yourself, if I get with a person, you know, man or woman, if I get with a person that's got it going on more than me, and I'm okay with living my lifestyle, do I, like you say, unselfishly love this person? I don't have a lust of figuring like, oh, I'm latching on to them for what I feel like they can do in my future to bring me up to their level. Am I comfortable with this person, you know, loving me and being with me and leaving me on a level I'm on? And a lot of people would say, well, what's the purpose of getting with somebody like that if they're in a position to bring you up and they don't? Then you pose the question of a person asking, well, are you genuinely with me for me, or did you only get with me because you want to be the level you up? So I think these are the crazy questions, man, that don't get answered, or the things that people just, you know what I'm saying, they either assume or don't assume when they go into relationships and they do things and they not knowing, you know what I'm saying, because if you go into these type of relationships and you don't level a person up, it's just that, you know, you got a girlfriend on the side saying, hey, girl, he got it going on. He ain't did this, he ain't did that. Then you got the girl, like, you know what I'm saying, in the back of her head, like, dang, he ain't looking out. But you got to ask yourself, what are you there for? Because he might have his antennas up because in the past, he done been in that type of situation where somebody took him. He got an ex-wife or somebody that took him for something. And he like, you know, I'm just trying to find somebody to love me for me. I ain't trying to level nobody up. So I think these are the weird questions that people are afraid to ask, that you need to just deal with head on in the beginning of a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I think you said a lot of good stuff. Yes. I think everything is about what your foundation is. So, right. You know what I'm saying? And are your moral perspectives or your ideologies of what a marriage or a covenant with somebody is. If I decide to commit myself, go on a contract, be with you, build a family, what does that actually mean? So we both are clear on the same imagery, because we all come with our certain opinions on what those things are. And so I always say this, when you're in dating mode, when you're in the position that you're in the dating mode, you got to have those Geico dates, right? What I mean is get your questions out. That's my acronym. Get all of your question outs to figure out, how would our relationship go? Root word, relate. So what do we relate about? Let's communicate those things and see if we can think on the same level before we go in with blind expectations and assuming that you think like I think.
Right.
You know, and whatever your criteria is, or what you think is a relationship, is important for you to both. Sorry about that, man. It's important for. There you go. It's important for you two both to be on the same page and have the same imagery, the same thoughts. The problem becomes when your thoughts are not my thoughts. when our constitution or our rule book is different from each other, when our future is different, right? When my vision for what we should be is different from your vision, because one vision plus two vision equals die vision. So if we don't have the same vision going in on what we're building or we're becoming, we're automatically divided by law. And that is that you cannot violate that law, no matter how good they look, how fine they are, or whatever it is that you liked about them that attracted you to them. And so when you're talking about being part of being whole is knowing who you are and being able to communicate that before you put the affection on the thing and you fall into something that feels good to you. You need to be able to have the confidence within yourself and wherewithal to connect with somebody that's going to allow you to become something different and build something as an entity together, where you both make the transitions to meet each other where you are.
Right. And be able to grow together. You know what I'm saying? Be able to grow together. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like even if like one person in the relationship ain't where the other person is, if you got something that you can bring to the table, you know what I'm saying, to help take what the person doing to the next level, you know, get on in there and let's do this thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think like I was saying earlier, all the right questions got to be asked, and you can't be scared to offend nobody. You know what I'm saying?
But I think, yes, you're right. If you're talking about finances, I think there has to be the conversation of what is profitable when two people to come together like a corporation, right? So my dad always teaches this. They say marriage is like a corporation. It's not like a partnership. It's not like a sole proprietorship. It's like a corporation. A corporation is where I have a level of skill set and you have a level of skill set, and we both come together to add to the entity, and we create something different than both of us. Our collaboration, our synergy creates what it is we collectively want to build, right? And so I think the priority of who is the leader in the relationship does not only need to depend on the finances as being the trump card or the person that can bring the finances, but that has to be an equal way to look at it, because the world would tell us whoever brings the resources in is the trump. You know what I'm saying? And that's, if you want to go in and look at your relationship like that, that's good, because you can build your foundation on it. But that's not necessarily godly per se,
right? Because
your ability to speak into my life, your ability to have the vision for the bag that I got, right, is just equally important if you think in the terms of corporation. The operator within the organization is just as important as the visionary for the organization, right? Because you bring something to the table that we can build. And once you establish the role that you play in the entity that we're creating, we need to hold each other at an equal standard and submit each other to each other's visions so we can build the entity of the marriage and what we're building as a family.
Right.
But that has to be established going in.
Right. And you gotta ask all the right questions and not be scared.
Yeah.
On both sides. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty much a wrap on my end, baby.
Wrap on my end, man, too. So this is willingly responding as people should. Today we asked the question: are you too broke or too broken to be dating? I think before you go, you know, I heard one of my guys, James Hayes, he say that when you're dating, you're collecting data, right? But before you go collect data on somebody else, the first data need to be collected is on yourself. Do you have the individuality? Are you self-discovered? Are you whole? Are you unbroken? Are you healed? And are you ready to add value to and build something with somebody else and not bring the baggage? And so some of us, if you're in that position that you're unfulfilled in life and you think that a relationship is going to fix it, we just want to challenge that thought process, not condemning, just challenge that thought process to getting God's face, discover who you are. And once you find your own wholeness and your fulfillment, that's what you can bring. And that's what you want reciprocated. And you'll attract that other person who's not broken. You'll attract that other person who's whole, that you guys can collaborate and synergize. And so it's a wrap, baby. Love you guys. Right. We'll see you on the next one. All right, bro. Love you, man.
Love you too, Doc.
Cal and Dave Jones are the hosts of the show. We living in some difficult times, as most of us know. Let's lift each other up and put down the stress. If you didn't know, the name of the show is called Rap.